Okay, we're going to start on the lips today, and we're going to go ahead and start with our H pencil. So grab that and make sure it's nice and sharp. Okay, and the lips is fairly simple as far as drawing wise on what we're needing to do, but it's mostly then shading. So you have to get your shading pretty accurate for it to look right, because you basically just have two-tone skin tone, basically. Okay? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the bottom lip, and we're going to start with the top line of the bottom lip. So if you kind of notice, the corners of the mouth, they kind of curve downwards a little bit. So I'm going to start that curve. And then I kind of have a little bit of one hump and then a two hump, kind of like two little hills, sort of, because it kind of plumps up there. Okay, so guys, it's kind of here, it's just kind of like a simplified, like, you know, the little birds that we draw that are really simple. We kind of have that, but more in a flattened out version, okay? All right, then what I've got is, I don't really see too much shading between here and here, but that bottom lip is pretty darn thick. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, I know that's your guys's, you know, that's a slang word for you guys now, but it really is T-H-I-C-K. Okay, if we look at like line thickness versus thinness. Okay. All right. Then the top lip, we've got a space in there. Okay. So basically what I see here, we've got kind of just like, a triangle looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go in here. Now I made that, let's see, did I make that too large? I made that too large, so I'm going to back off a little bit. Okay, so basically what we're doing is that space where the teeth are is just kind of an elongated out triangle. So kind of something like that. Okay? All right, then the deal with these lips are they have a couple sections where they kind of are more full. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually kind of draw that in for myself. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to kind of draw a real long, like, teardrop shape on its side. Kind of like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I might even bring that over just a little bit more, kind of more into the middle. So I'm kind of recorrecting as I'm drawing. Then I'm going to do that same move over here on this other side. So again, I'm going to draw out pretty much a teardrop on its side.
Pardon an interruption, but just a reminder to teachers and students that the library is closed today.
Okay. Then what I'm going to do is the Cupid's bow, or what I also like to call your snot catcher. Okay, that kind of has a downward slope to it. So right here, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and connect these two teardrops with a downward slope. Kind of like that. Okay. Am I going too fast or am I doing okay? Going a little too fast? Okay, I'll pause for a little while, let you guys catch up. And I'll go ahead and erase out the lines that I don't need, so then those of you that are catching up, then you can see just the overall shape that you need. Okay. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to emphasize out these arches just a little bit more right here. And right there. Okay, and then I'll pause for a little bit. All right, am I good to go? Good to move on? Yeah? Okay. All right, next thing that I'm gonna draw in there are the teeth. So I'm gonna start with the two front ones. I'm gonna start with my left hand one and then my right hand one. So they're gonna come down right in the middle. And I'm trying to kind of gauge, did I make this too large? And I don't think so, because the teeth come down and then they don't touch that bottom lip. They kind of, they're grazing like right above it. So I'm just kind of drawing in a rectangle that has kind of curved, rounded out corners. Okay, this is gonna look a little weird when we first start, but that's okay. I'm gonna get the other tooth in here. It comes down at the same plane. And it looks like I need to adjust my lip there. Make sure that the tooth fits. And the teeth are pretty large. Okay. So I've got, right now it looks like buck teeth going on. Just got the two front ones on there. Then I'm going to go ahead and bounce over to the left-hand side and get that tooth in there. That just kind of disappears into the lip. Right there. And then same thing on this side. And it comes down about here, and then it just disappears right into the lip. Okay? Yeah, it'll kind of look like for a while that you got buck teeth going on there. Okay, then to speed up this process, instead of laying down base value with our H pencil, we're just going to switch right over to B and just get it going, okay? So, in last class, I started with the value around the lips first, and I think for you guys, I want to switch it, and I want to start with the value that is actually the lips. So we're going to start on that. And then we'll place in the value around the mouth, and then we'll go through and pull out the highlights, and then we will add the lip texture, and then it'll be done, okay, after we get it blended. All right, so I want to go ahead and start in my darkest area on in the lips. Where would that be? Can you guys see it on your worksheet?
On
The creases are pretty darn dark, and then where else? Well, yeah, so under. And then when you say, well, we're drawing the whole mouth, can you be a little more specific? What's the other darkest spot you guys see?
Around the teeth.
Around the teeth, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go ahead and start in the space that is around the teeth. And so you got to be careful with this, because this value, as you place it in, becomes the like outlines of not only the teeth, but then that top edge of the bottom lip. Okay, I'm going to turn my worksheet here so it's just a little more comfortable for me to get this in here. And then what I'm doing is I'm just trying to copy the shape, and I'm just trying to copy the value that I see in this inner part here. So this is just kind of the gap in between the top of the bottom lip and then the teeth. So it's kind of like you're seeing you're starting to see the inside of the mouth a little bit. Okay, and over here on the left-hand side, there's quite a bit value. There's a good space over there. So I want to make sure that I get that in. Okay, then it kind of goes barely underneath those top teeth. I made that a little wider than I should have, but it's okay. And I'm going to pause and sharpen my pencil because I really want good, crisp detail in there. Okay, I'm going to come up around this tooth. So it gets pretty dark on that side. And again, I've got a lot of space over on this side too. So I'm going to thicken that line up there. And then this shadow, this dark space kind of goes all the way over. Okay, so I want to get that filled in nice and dark, like a 10. Okay, then I'm going to come over back on this left-hand side and kind of go ahead and get that dark corner of the mouth in there also. Okay, kind of something like that. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead and work the bottom lip. Basically, it's all one flat value, pretty much. There is a little bit more darkness here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work to give it a flat value first. Notice you have more highlighting over on the left-hand side, and we'll pull that back out with our kneaded eraser or our regular eraser. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I want to go ahead and give it a flat value of about a 5. Now I'm not pressing down very hard with my B pencil and it's giving me a dark value. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit more so I can have it a little more comfortable for myself. And I'm just going to fill in that whole bottom lip with kind of a base value to start. Okay, so just shading that in pretty flat. I can let it be a little lighter as it goes up to the top. So I just kind of really gradually let my pencil kind of pick up there, and then I'll go in and re-emphasize some darker value. Bless you. Okay, kind of something like that. Now kind of, from right about here down, I want to get it just a little bit darker. So I'm going to kind of emphasize that out just a little bit more. So kind of like the bottom 2/3 of the bottom lip, just want to darken that up a little bit more. But I don't really want there to be a super harsh line right there, so I want to make sure that I kind of blend that line out a little bit more. Okay. How's my speed? Need to pause for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So those of you that are like ready to move on, the next part that I'm going to do is add a bit more shading here on the left, kind of on the bottom, and a little bit on the right. It's just a little bit darker, kind of to show that plumpness a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start that. Let's go real nice and slow. So I've got just a little bit extra darkness down here. Kind of towards the bottom. And then on the left and right hand side. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay. All right, you guys good? Okay, we're gonna move on to shading the top lip, and we're gonna basically do kind of the same thing that we did in the bottom lip. So I'm going to start at the top part of, well, technically the bottom part of the top lip. And then, and I've got a lot of like hairy lines over here in my, I'm gonna take that out. I wanna erase that out. You guys may not have to. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, if you guys notice, the value that is on the bottom part of the top lip is pretty dark. And then as I move upwards and kind of over here on the right hand side, it's a bit darker. But then as I move upwards, I'm going to let it get lighter and lighter and lighter. Those highlights that are in there, we'll pull those out with our kneaded eraser. Okay, so we're just working through getting good blending. Hello, doctor. Hey. Okay, guys, and so then I'm going to switch over here to the left-hand side. It's pretty darn dark in that crease area, so I'm going to kind of continue that darkness up through it just a little bit. Then I'm going to switch back over to it being fairly light. Now remember that line that's kind of right by the teeth, that's pretty dark. And then you'll work it lighter and lighter. So your left-hand side, hopefully it should be kind of quite a bit darker than, or lighter, excuse me, than your right-hand side. So I'm going to kind of start making that gradual fade work through there. Again, we'll pull that out with our kneaded eraser also. Okay. All right, guys, so look and see on the lips here how the same thing that we kind of did down at the bottom lips, we kind of re-emphasized out some of the darkness. And so I kind of need to do that in my top lip as well. So I'm going to kind of start up here. And so all I'm doing is kind of adding in another layer of value to kind of emphasize that out. Kind of just like this. And then, like I said, we'll pull the highlights out with the kneaded eraser. Okay. You guys need me to pause for a little while? Or are you good? Good? All right. Let's start adding some value like around, like the skin that's around the mouth. Now, if you notice over on the left-hand side, we don't really have much, okay? So we've got a little bit over here on the top right, and then we've got a little bit here on the bottom right. That's kind of a cast shadow. So I'm gonna go through and add some of that. Now notice how much darker your lips are compared to that shadow. or that value. So this skin needs to be really, really, really light in color or in value. So I'm just kind of barely using my B pencil just to get a little bit of value in there. Okay, same thing down here. And then I'm going to kind of bounce over to this other side because I've got kind of a cast shadow going on. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in there really nice and light. And then I'm going to push that bottom shadow underneath the lip here in just a second, underneath the bottom lip. Okay. All right, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, so this shadow needs to be kind of like a 10 fading out to an 8. So it's really nice and dark as it butts up right against the bottom line of the bottom lip, and then it fades outwards a bit. Okay, kind of drops off right there on the right hand side. Now I'm going to work to kind of blend this out. Going from dark to light. Okay, those of you that already have this in here, you could go ahead and grab your tortillon, and if you want to start blending, you can do that. Those of you that are still kind of staying with me, I'm just working through at really getting some nice gradual fading between my darks and lights. Okay, something like that. Okay, do you guys need me to pause for a little while? Yeah? Okay. Okay, I'm not drawing anything new. I'm just blending. So I'll just go slow. And I'm going to start by blending my bottom lip and then my top lip and then the areas around. So I'm not adding in anything new. I'm just going to slowly work at blending. So whenever you guys get your value in, then you can switch over to blending when you're ready. Okay, and I'm going to use my tortillon similarly to how I use my pencil, where if it's a darker area, I'm going to push down on it a little bit more, and then where it's nice and light, I will not push down as much. Okay, so just working through that blending. It's nice and easy, nice and gradual. We'll pull the highlights out in a little bit. Okay, those of you that struggle to get really nice blending transitions, you really need to practice it here. Okay, so I've got the bottom lip basically done. Now I'm going to work through the top lip. Be kind of careful about not going into the teeth just yet. They're going to need some shading, but you want to be careful. Okay, when I get to this like top part on my lip, the shape that I had drawn in before, like that on its side teardrop, I'm also going to kind of use my tortillon and kind of shade that kind of like half circle in also, so it kind of looks like the lips are kind of plumping in that area a little bit. Oop, I went into the tooth. Be careful about that, guys. It's pretty light up there at the top of this lip. I'm gonna have to really pull some highlights into it. Okay. Now I'm gonna work my value around the lips, and then the last thing will be inside the mouth and the teeth a bit. Okay, so I'm just kind of working on this fairly quickly. Okay, I'm gonna bump up some of my value over here just by pressing a little harder on my tortillon. Okay, guys, here we go. Inside the mouth. So I'm going to start with that dark space first, and then I'm going to work through the teeth. So you guys have to be really, really careful in this area, because if you kind of get your shading off a little bit, it's going to change the shape of like the teeth and the mouth space. So you got to be careful, okay? All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put, the teeth are not stark white in our image, so it needs some value. So all I'm gonna do is very lightly with just my tortillon, I'm gonna run it across the teeth just to kind of tone them down a little bit, tone down the whiteness. Okay, so with my tortillon really light, I'm just running across the teeth, and then it has a little bit of a cast shadow from the top lip. So I'm just gonna press down harder with my tortillon to get that cast shadow in there. Kind of like that. Okay. Then I can kind of go through and give my teeth a little bit of a dimension by kind of putting in a little extra value in some places. This tooth is pretty dark all the way through. Same thing with this one. This tooth got pretty dark in shadow as well. Okay. All right, I'm gonna bump up some areas as far as my value goes and kind of define the teeth out just a little bit more by adding in my B pencil work there. I'm gonna go down here and really bump up that bottom cast shadow. I'm also going to bump up the shadow part that's on the bottom of my top lip. Okay, got it on the right hand side. Now I'm going to flip my paper over and I'm going to do it on the left hand side as well. Okay, we're almost done. We got highlights, and then details. Okay, so now with your kneaded eraser, and do I need to pause for a little while?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so those of you that are ready for highlights, you can go ahead and start kind of getting your kneaded eraser into the shape that you need it. You guys think we're going to get up to 3 inches today?
Yes.
You think so? Is it not sticking?
It is through the cars.
This is gonna suck.
Yeah, it's sticking.
Yeah, I live in Ozark, so.
I know.
Mhm.
Actually, they said it's gonna be cooling down, so.
All right, guys. Okay, here we go. I got us off topic. All right. Now, gonna start pulling in highlights. I'm gonna start on the bottom lip. Shh, shh, shh. Didn't mean to get you guys that off topic. Okay, so now I'm gonna put this highlight in with my kneaded eraser. And remember, if it kind of stops pulling graphite up, you just need to rework it. And so here I'm just kind of taking it out in kind of chunks. And I might even work my regular eraser through there because some of it gets pretty bright. So I'm going to work this all the way through. So right about here. And then, yeah, I'm going to work my regular eraser in some of those real bright areas. Okay, so this one, I'm getting a better result in using my regular eraser, so you guys can do that too. Okay, and I'm also going to use my regular eraser to get my highlights at the tops of my upper lip. Okay, kind of something like that. I need to smooth it out a little bit. So I'm going to go back in with my tortillon and just really lightly, I'm going to kind of smooth those highlights, the edges of those highlights back out. Just a little bit. All right. Okay, guys, now we're going to switch over to H pencil and we're going to call it good after we get our details in here. Okay, so the details are just like the lines, the little bit of texture that you get on the lips. So the way that those work is on the bottom lip, they start from the top, and in the center, they're going to go kind of straight down. Okay. So kind of similar to our eyelashes, you just want to make kind of randomly spaced and different length lines. And then as you move away from the center, they're going to start curving more and more. Okay, so you guys can go ahead and kind of start getting yourself some lip texture in there. Okay, guys. All right, so you should now be working on getting line texture. We started on the bottom lip and we worked from the top edge down. Okay, shh. Then I'm going to work that same texture into my top lip, and I'm going to have to press a bit harder with my H pencil. And again, you're kind of working it just like you did your eyelashes. As you move away, you want it to curve more and more, and you kind of want some random sizes. Okay, so kind of something like that. All right? Okay, giving you guys some time to catch up. That's really all you need to do for the lips there.